I thought we were well. I truly believed it. And then we saw a cure for wellness. Now Jesse Klein and I are on opposite sides of the opinions. Will we make it through the end of this show? Stick around and find out on today's Sci-Fi Weekly.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Sci-Fi Weekly.
Hey guys, welcome back to Popcorn Talk for Sci-Fi Weekly. I'm your host, Zach Wilson, and you are watching the show that gives you the guide to sci-fi, past, present, and sometimes the future. Thanks for joining us. As I said, I'm Zach Wilson. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at @ThatZachWilson. Be sure to follow the show on Facebook and Twitter at Sci-Fi Weekly. I got Jesse Klein here.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? I'm super excited to talk to you about today's discussion topics. What a fun week for sci-fi. Let's get into it, man.
Yeah. Hayley O'Connor, our usual co-host, unfortunately is under the weather. Not quite well.
She hasn't been drinking enough water.
I usually have water in my mug. Now I'm afraid to touch it. Our mascot Huggy is just like, he's like, even he doesn't want to touch the water.
He's hanging out with his parasite friends.
Yeah. But we're going to talk about A Cure for Wellness and what we thought of the movie that came out on Friday. I've also got a bunch of news to cover, so why don't we hit the ground running at ludicrous speed. There it is.
Go!
Star Wars Episode 8, we found out recently, is called The Last Jedi. And there was a lot of debate after it came out whether it was a singular Jedi or plural. And now, thanks to international titles, we have our answer. It will be plural. And I thought it'd be fun to take a look at different countries' titles.
Okay.
And read them off to you guys.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Let's do it.
Why don't we start with German?
All right.
Star Wars Die letzten Jedi!
Okay, nope, I don't like this idea anymore.
What?
Nope, cut it. Nope, don't like it. Just cut it. Cut it all. Cut everything. No, that was no fun. I'm against it all.
That's how German sounds, though.
We just watched a movie where there was a lot of German, and almost no one was screaming in it. To be fair, it was Swiss German, but still.
Yeah, very different.
Yeah.
Swiss Germans are much more calm and collected when they
neutral.
brutalize entire groups of people.
Yeah, sure.
Anyway, all right. So that's that.
Sorry.
But why don't we just talk about it? All this stuff at normal speed today.
Okay, fine. There wasn't a lot of...
It was a lighter week.
Yeah.
Some really cool stuff, but nothing. There wasn't a ton of it. Last Jedi will be
plural. Multiple Jedi.
Plural Jedi. Which is pretty much what everybody suspected at the time. What else happened this week? With more Star Wars news, or unless you had more on...
I was just thinking, Last Jedi sounds way better than Last Jedis.
Yeah, well, it's like sheep.
Yeah.
It's plural. The Last Jedis.
Yeah, it just sounds bad.
More Star Wars news. We found out about the fate of Jar Binks this week.
There's a lot of Jar Jar news.
Is there a lot?
Yeah, there's like a new the book, right?
Yeah, that's where his fate came from. It's from the upcoming final chapter in the Aftermath trilogy, which the first two books were okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fun stuff in there. Not necessarily the best books, but there's cool stuff. The cool characters.
Yeah.
So apparently we're going to run into Jar Jar in it. So minor spoilers ahead. Very minor. Basically just spoilers for Jar Jar. Apparently he's like a street clown.
Sure.
Now. That's all he can do is beg for money in the streets because everyone blames him. All the Gungans blame him for the rise of the Empire.
What a sad end to a sad character. I mean, he's the one who put the motion in front of the Senate.
Yeah. So that's like on paper, it all falls on his shoulders.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's interesting, but he's like trying to like help a little kid in the scene. But the point is that he's still alive.
Sure.
In modern canon.
Well, I don't know how old do Gungans get.
Well, the question that just the fact that he's alive means that he's around if they wanted him to show up in The Last Jedi. Jar Jar, he's available. His agent's like, hey, I got a Gungan over here. Everyone knows his name.
JJ, don't listen to this. Jimmy John.
JJ's not even involved. Ryan Johnson's like, I don't know, maybe this Jar Jar guy.
Everyone involved. Don't think about it.
We got rid of one JJ. Maybe Jar Jar comes in. He's just JJ Binks.
No. Lens flare.
Lens flare him out.
Yeah.
Sophie Turner, who played Jean Grey in X-Men Apocalypse. I thought she did a great job.
I thought she was fun.
In a less than great movie. But apparently, and there was a lot of talk about potentially doing a soft reboot on the X-Men universe after Apocalypse bombed.
Yeah.
But apparently, she at least is going to be coming back for X-Men Supernova, which is the working title for whatever the next chapter
How
is.
many reboots are they going to do on this universe?
Well, I guess they're not doing when they say soft reboot, it's sort of just like ignore all of those characters and go forward with a new set of characters within the universe. Because it's X-Men, like there's unlimited amounts of characters.
Where London wasn't destroyed.
Yeah, we're just gonna pretend that didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
But I guess like even if you did sort of ignore it, you can still have the same characters playing.
I think it's fine, but they're eventually just it's gonna be like Lost, where like they're gonna just start getting nosebleeds out of nowhere because they're just jumping to too many universes.
I mean, it's Deadpool. These timelines are so confusing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's way too real.
Yeah.
I mean, Logan is like according to Hugh Jackman
universe,
in a different universe, or at least in a timeline where they're just not worrying about where in the timeline they are. They're just like, write a good movie.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, fine.
Make a good movie.
Yeah.
It'll be cool though, because like the rumors are heavier that Maisie Williams is going to be Wolfsbane. It's been a rumor for a while, but now there's like more and more heat behind it.
So they're just gonna take all of Game of Thrones and put it in X-Men?
I guess that's fine.
I guess that's fine.
No arguments.
Yeah.
What else is coming out this week? Stranger Things. The Duffer Brothers said that it's going to be capped at 4 to 5 seasons. They I guess they have a loose plan. Season 2 will still be self-contained as much as season 1 was.
Yeah.
But they're going to leave some threads so that they can continue on. They don't want to do more than 5.
I like that. I like the British version of just writing your story, and then when it's done, it's done.
Yeah.
Then like trying to stretch something to like see if you can get 16 seasons in when really you had 4 seasons worth of story.
We're seeing that more and more. I mean, with the emergence of stuff like Fargo, which like characters don't even carry over between seasons. It's literally just we found a world, we're going to tell a story in it, and then if we want to keep working in this world, we're just going to fill it with new characters and go forward.
Yeah, or like Amazon and Netflix series where it's like we just want this story and that's it.
Even those though, they've started to do carry on and like do multiple seasons. Sometimes they cap them,
but sometimes they'll cap them, or they'll say like, "Oh, we could do another season. Like we could add."
House of Cards was supposed to be 2 seasons.
Yeah.
It's at 5 now.
Yeah, that's true.
Some would say to the detriment of the series.
Yeah, I didn't like it in the first place.
Yeah, but I want them to make sure that they're nailing season 2.
Yeah.
Before they start worrying about this. So this is a show that I have extreme concerns about longevity. I think that the sophomore season needs to be great.
Yeah.
Or it will be viewed as terrible. And that's like sort of the burden of the breakout hit.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that they weren't going to it would be instead of it being a series, it would just be different stories under the Stranger Things kind of title. So like instead of it being a sequel season, it would just be, instead of
an extended Twilight Zone kind of thing.
Well, where it's just be every season, like what is the word for this?
An anthology?
An anthology, yeah, an anthology where, like the second season is, instead of it being like an 80s nostalgia thing, like make it a 90s nostalgia like horror movie. So instead it's
That's season 5. Season 5, we get a lot more neon.
yeah, make it like a Freddy Krueger like type like nostalgia for that type of like slasher horror,
Interesting.
which was what was popular in the 90s.
But so you're basically thinking like it's a nostalgia anthology.
Well, like a horror anthology that that very much relies on like time period to like place it.
That could be interesting.
I mean, they're not doing it. So.
They're not doing that. I
Yeah.
mean, this is the show.
Yeah.
But it could be interesting. I'm excited to see what season 2 is. Like, we're so far out. Like,
Yeah.
obviously Netflix still has faith in the show.
Sure.
And what they're seeing they like, because they paid for a $5 million Super Bowl trailer 8 months before before the show drops.
Yeah.
All right. So speaking of stuff dropping, Batman. It looks like they're having a lot of trouble keeping people on this movie.
Yeah.
Matt Reeves was in contract negotiations. Matt Reeves, who directed the new Apes movies. They wanted him to direct it. He was in contract negotiations, and once they were in the room, he just was like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
And if you're doing like Planet of the Apes movies, like any kind of sci-fi, you have to think this person has like some fandom behind them. And I challenge you to find me anyone who's a fan, any level of geek who doesn't like Batman.
Yeah.
I can't, like, he must want to do the Batman movie.
Well,
and so what does Warner Brothers have to be doing behind the scenes that people are like, I don't want to get involved in this Batman movie?
Well, I mean, the DC movies are kind of famous that inside like the Hollywood community, like people don't like them and don't like the creative choices that are being made with them.
The DCEU,
yeah.
that's the thing. It's like there's something different once they started getting down this connected universe thing. What Marvel has been doing for so many years, to a point where there's the two sides of people who are all about it.
Yeah.
And then it's like now it's at a point where it's so big that a lot of people are like exhausted.
Yeah.
And both are
I think
equally
both are
fair.
equally fair. I think, however, DC's doing it, they're obviously handling it poorly because they're losing so many directors.
Yeah.
And I mean, what is it? Did you see the thing where it's like Mel Gibson slated to maybe direct Suicide Squad?
It's a rumor
that
they supposedly they approached Mel Gibson to direct Suicide Squad 2. I don't buy it.
Yeah.
Personally, I think that's just rumor mill
Maybe
stuff. That said,
I mean,
wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. When has DC made a good decision?
Yeah, I just think from a PR standpoint, Mel Gibson is like hard to put on something like that.
Is he? People have forgiven him. He was at the Oscars.
I guess. But to the point, like the next story with Ben Affleck supposedly wants out of Batman entirely.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't want to play him anymore.
Said he's completely done with the character.
And he's not contractually obligated to do a solo movie.
Yeah.
That's the thing that a lot of people are like, well, he's got to do one movie. No. He technically, after he shot Justice League Part 2, which is done, they have shot that movie, he's out. Like if he doesn't want to, he doesn't have to do anything.
Yeah. Which throws a lot of cogs and a lot of wheels.
He's somebody who genuinely loves the character.
Yeah.
Like this is a fan of Batman. So for him to give it up, like I don't know what's going on down there.
I do not know. Can we just agree to blame Zack Snyder?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. We'll blame Zack Snyder.
It's a shame on Zacks everywhere.
He's not living up to the good name of Zachary.
There was a rumor this week that Tilda Swinton is high on the list for Doctor Who.
I saw that. That's interesting.
That's interesting. I love Tilda Swinton. I don't buy it for a second. I think that it's totally against what they've said that they want.
Yeah.
In a new Doctor, not the being a woman part, but like just her personality. What I think her strongest version of the Doctor would be too close to Capaldi.
Yeah.
Would be a female Capaldi, which is too similar.
Yeah.
They've heard they want to age down, which this is not. She's wonderful.
Yeah.
She's in her 50s, so she's not going to bring back the young crowd that they're hoping to court.
Yeah, the Matt Smith crowd.
And I'm all for a female Doctor.
Sure.
I've been championing Haley Atwell, which apparently is not going to happen because I heard you just got a new show.
Yep.
Damn it, world. But I think there's a lot of good options out there.
Yeah. I mean,
so
I mean, I wasn't here for it, but you got my doctor picks.
Yeah.
I like all the options, and if it's not female, I think Richard Ayoade would be the perfect doctor. Like an awkward doctor would be really interesting to see. Like unsure of who he was would be interesting to see. But also all of the other picks.
Oh, apparently, according to Enrique Casarrubia in the chat, I hadn't seen this, but Mel Gibson confirmed that he is in talks. For it. So not a rumor.
Not a rumor.
That said, all the stuff that I've heard about the David Ayers on the set of Suicide Squad 1, maybe a crazy guy isn't that far out of the box for them.
I mean, what if the studio's going to mess with it as much as they messed with the first one, then it doesn't really matter who your director is.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, Predator.
Yeah.
We got a quote this week from one of the actors who said that Predator, the new Predator movie, is not a sequel. Shane Black has made something totally new. Shane Black is the director. Somehow keeping within the realm of Predator while also being absolutely new in terms of the story that we're talking about today and rooted in something real. It's real fresh. I don't think you're going to see Arnold Schwarzenegger. It would be some kind of gimmick. Horror, science fiction, and a Western.
Damn.
The Western part is what really stood out to me from that.
Yeah.
Also, we have not yet no one has denied that this movie is set at Christmas. I'm pretty sure Shane Black will find a way.
Yeah.
They could be on like Planet 9 from outer space, and like somehow it'll be at Christmas time.
They'll be celebrating the Festival of Light. That's really exciting. I like the idea of just like, it's not a sequel, it's not a reboot, it's just, it takes place in a universe where predators exist, and that's it.
Yeah.
There are a lot of comic books in the omnibus, the Predator omnibus, that kind of are Western-like. I kind of hope it takes place on a colony planet where they're like ranching alien cows.
That could be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, more to get us excited about. I don't know if it's going to be a literal Western with that, or like ranchers, but I think the fact they're saying Western to me implies that it's going to be more adventure.
Yeah.
And because the older Predator films are not, I wouldn't categorize them as adventure movies.
Yeah.
They're action movies, but they're fairly self-contained in terms of location. Predators maybe being the most like where they have to like journey somewhere.
See, I'm thinking it means it's more of like a character piece. Like it's going to center
That would be
around,
great.
Like a bunch of normal people, not like paramilitary people, and about them. Maybe the predators are on the same side as them. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, I'd watch
like if there's like an alpha beast or something like that, or a military group trying to take over like a colony or a small town, and then it's just like it's the Magnificent Seven, but
one instead of one
predators.
guy's Native American, one of them is a predator.
Yeah. Or Magnificent Seven Predators. I would watch the crap out of that movie.
Oh my god, I would too. Let's make look. They'll be making Predator movies until no one cares anymore.
I'm gonna write Magnificent Seven Predators.
I will be the first in line for that.
My budget will be $30.
I will not be the first in line.
Okay.
I'll wait for Netflix.
Yep.
Let's talk about Archer, which I
yeah.
realize is like not necessarily something that sounds like sci-fi, but it looks like we might be getting some like time travel nonsense this season.
Also, Krieger is pretty sci-fi.
Krieger is sci-fi. We have had aliens on the show.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at the trailer that came out this week for Archer Dreamland, the noir adventure in the land of Archer.
So what are we doing? Are we just jumping right into this?
Son of a bitch! This spring, Archer. Gasp. Just say noir. Who wants their ass beat first?
I trust you know who I am?
The biggest mobster in L.A.
Archer, come to think of it, where were you last night?
Ask your wife. Hey, pal, you got a second?
Skaroo.
Mr. Archer, I would like to hire you to murder me.
Damn!
Where the hell did you
They
get
just give her
that?
the
That
same
could have been
stuff.
inside somebody.
Well, it is now.
Looks like they're making fun of the Nick a little bit.
So I heard
Glad to
about
see
a male
Barry back.
prostitute who got syphilis. Yeah, business kinda dropped off.
Maybe a cyborg
New
Barry.
season.
Okay, you are just terrifying.
New era.
Looks like she's having a rough night.
Her? What about me?
New network.
Damn it! I insist you let me share your marijuana cigarette! Move, dick.
Slang for detective, so not an insult.
Archer Dreamland. Premieres Wednesday, April 5th at
So the
10.
real question-
Coming to FXX.
The real question is how they get to Archer Dreamland.
Yeah, I mean, it could be time travel. It could be a Jacob's Ladder scenario where it's all in Archer's head.
Yeah, there is a setup for that at the end that I won't spoil for people who haven't seen last season.
Yeah.
But the way that it ended, that could be how it works.
Yeah.
I'm curious. The computer has taken on a new personality today. And
Oh.
I'm curious. Computer, what do you think of the new trailer for Archer Dreamland? I feel like you've talked about it before.
Yes, I thank you for including me on your lovely excursion. Hello, I am the computer. I'm just kidding.
It's Alexis Torres in
Hi,
the
everybody.
booth.
I just tried. I'm very excited for this. I don't know how they got to Dreamland, and I don't care. I'm really excited to see the fact that we're in this era, and I love that they're sticking with the fact that Pam's not going to be this like more girly lady, like the fact that she's like in a suit and is sitting there just roughing people up. Like I think it's just. I'm glad that they decided to just go like a completely like I know how time has always been kind of weird already in the Archer series since like we were in old time Hollywood at one point, but they all have cell phones. It's weird.
We have cell phones and the KGB,
Yeah.
So I think
but
it doesn't
also
matter.
DOS computers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
I think it's believable that just Los Angeles is stuck in the 1950s and 30s in the Archer universe.
Well, that's where we were last season.
Yeah.
was in Hollywood.
Yeah. So like I think it's believable that it's just there.
I like this world that Adam Reed has created, where he can do whatever he wants with
and
these characters.
it doesn't bother anybody.
No.
Yeah, they've got this and then 2 more seasons, I think, before the show's going to wrap up.
Yep.
I can't believe it.
But I'm excited to see what this is. So look forward in April, and then look for the Archer AfterBuzz TV after show, which I was one of the hosts on.
Do it.
I was constantly drinking on that show.
It was
It's
glorious.
commitment to the bit.
Sure. That's what we're calling alcoholism.
yeah. That's just what we decided was what it's
I
gonna
will
be.
commit to this bit until I can no longer do it.
That's closer to the truth than you realize.
Yep.
All right, let's jump into some sci-fi in real life before we talk about a cure for wellness.
All right.
Real quick, so scientists, which is how you start all good things. Scientists want to revive the woolly mammoth.
Dope. Let's do it.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm usually wary of this, as Jurassic Park has taught us that bringing prehistoric creatures back to life
Is awesome.
will only end in tears.
Who cares? It's awesome. If I die because I get eaten by a plesiosaur, I'm okay with that. That's better than being like 88 and like on a bed,
Yeah.
not remembering my family. I'd rather get torn in half by a plesiosaur.
I think the idea behind this is that they can use some of the traits of the mammoth to help save some of the elephants that are on the endangered species list. As long as the endangered species list exists.
Which it might not for
Which
that
it
much
might
longer.
not. Call your senator. But what they want to do is they want to create an elephant mammoth hybrid embryo.
Dope.
And then use like modern elephants to help bring it to term. And then this is all using the gene tool we've talked about a bunch of times on the show, CRISPR.
Yeah.
Which is the most sci-fi freaking
It's a very sci-fi
thing ever.
CRISPR.
The DNA splicing device.
Let's just splice DNA with the CRISPR.
Which doesn't have an E in it.
Yep. Just CRISPR.
So creepy. But yeah, so they're trying to make a what did they call it? A mammophant.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
This is it's not on the sheet, but I just heard a story about trying to photograph a black hole. Did you hear about this?
No.
So scientists are going to try and take a picture of a black hole, but in order to do that, you have to have a telescope the size of the Earth. So what they're doing is they're making an algorithm, and it's going to connect every single photograph taking device in orbit and on Earth, and it's going to try and like link them all together and have them all take a picture at the exact same time and like put it together.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Oh man, I want to see that.
Yeah.
I want to see that picture. I don't know what that. I don't. It would just be black. It just, you might as well just print on a sheet of black.
On the edges of a black hole, if Einstein is correct, then the amount of stuff that's being pulled in will create a ring. Like you should be able to see it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. I mean, obviously, there's something there. Yeah. But yeah. All right. Let's jump into our
The Cure for Wellness.
View of A Cure for Wellness. Yeah. We're gonna do spoiler-free review.
Sure.
First, up top, just because I know there's some people watching who haven't seen it, had a chance to see it yet.
Yeah.
And then we'll put up a spoiler warning when we do start talking about deeper plot lines.
Sure.
All right. Jesse, I want to let you go first. We always try to start with the positives.
Sure.
What did you think of A Cure for Wellness?
I thought A Cure for Wellness was an awesome psychological horror film, very much in the tune of like 1970s style psychological horror, where science is just this thing where people can do whatever they need to, and it kind of explains it all. It's a character piece and a profile on a very interesting character about a guy who goes to the Alps to retrieve a man for his company, and he ends up staying longer than he thought.
Yeah, I really liked this movie at the top. I think the first like 45 minutes, I was like gripped. I was like really interested to see. I was trying to figure out the puzzle of what's happening, where we are.
Yeah.
There was some cool stuff playing with like flashes, like flashbacks, and
And
like
it's absolutely beautiful too.
Yeah.
It's shot absolutely beautifully.
it's shot really well. For me, it got off the rails towards in the like middle of the second act. Of I don't know how many acts. It felt like they were there. It felt like they kept like, without just giving any spoilers, like it kept like getting to a point where I thought it was going to stop.
Yeah.
And then it kept going.
Which I think is purposeful. Like, I wouldn't like the movie if I didn't think they were doing that on purpose, but I think they were constantly trying to keep the audience on edge. And so they kept on offering strings of answers or maybe closure, and then realize that string leads to nowhere. And I think that's
fair.
I think that's 100% on purpose. Like a 1970s kind of psychological horror film. Like, I think they were trying to mess with your natural instinct to think it's like first beat, second beat, third beat, over, where they give you first beat, second beat, third beat within the first 45 minutes. Like, you get some closure within the first 45 minutes, and then it keeps going. And then you get closure again, and then it keeps going, and then it keeps going. I think that was all purposeful.
All right, and that's fair.
Yeah.
That's reasonable. To me, it just like it felt like they were. It felt like the movie had been like, it felt tacked on as opposed to.
Oh, I didn't feel like it was tacked on.
The plot line of like what they were doing with like the center and just the whole movie didn't come together for me in a way where the psychological horror stuff that was up top got marred by some of the decisions towards the end of the movie, where there was like a plot. There's a plot line with the doctor and Hannah, which I felt like took away in a lot of ways from the medical experiment part of the movie. And for me, I was expecting for this movie to end in a way, and like I'm all for subverting my expectations, and like I don't need them to deliver exactly what I thought I was going to get.
Yeah.
And I went into this with pretty much no expectations because I didn't watch a lot of trailers.
Yeah.
Saw them each one once and then went
Same.
away.
Yeah.
But I wanted more. Either I wanted them to leave me with a question, or really like drive home a more secured answer, and I didn't feel like I got. For some reason, I don't feel like I got either one.
Oh.
It just left me sort of like, what did I just see?
Oh, because for me it was very much. This was a movie about a man dealing with the fact that his father killed himself when he was very young, and at the end, I think we see him cure himself. I think we see him. I don't want to give any spoilers away, but I think we see him get the closure that he needed from that event.
Yeah. Well,
and I also like how this movie really rewards you for paying attention. They tell you the end of the movie in the first or the second scene, and I really enjoy like movies that will reward you for that kind of stuff. I think it's great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for like puzzles and everything.
Yeah.
For me, there's just like, I felt like there was a simpler draft of this that was more interesting. Before this. There were
because I think
so
go into spoilers.
Yeah, because we're tiptoeing around a lot of stuff, and I want to make sure that we don't ruin anything for anybody. I didn't enjoy,
so spoilers.
Yeah,
spoilers.
Well, just my final thoughts before we go into spoilers. Like I personally did not enjoy a lot of this movie. Just I think there's a lot of cool ideas in there, and they were marred by some stuff that was a little just went over the top, or they were trying for something else that just didn't. The pieces didn't connect and got too. It took left turns that I didn't like.
And I will say I really enjoyed this movie. I think every story element enhances each other. I think it builds and builds and builds until you get a very interesting end to the story that they're going for. And then it tells you that that's not the story you were looking at the entire time. And I think it's very rewarding. I think the acting is fantastic. I think the visuals are beautiful. I think it's a really fun kind of guide you through a mystery.
The acting was very good. I will say that. There was no one that I felt was like under delivering or like bad performances.
But also, it is a very white movie. There are not a lot of minorities in this movie.
Oh yeah.
It takes place in the Swiss Alps, but
not a great feminist movie either.
No.
To that point.
Yeah, sure.
All right, let's put up that spoiler wall. Spoilers from here on out.
Spoiler wall.
So if you're still watching, be aware we're going to talk about all the aspects of A Cure for Wellness.
Spoiler alert.
Thank you, computer.
There you go.
Spoiler alert.
Okay. So when I'm talking about like the ridiculous, like the stuff that I just didn't.
I didn't think anything was ridiculous.
There were some parts of this that I had trouble with.
What was that?
So here's my question for you. Like, just right off the bat, like let's start with my questions, because obviously I had issues with this movie.
Yeah.
The doctor.
Yeah.
The idea that they're trying to tell us is that he is the guy he's lived for like 200 years.
Yeah.
Underground. Okay. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
But like, it seemed like that was so surprising to like give this like fountain of youth as the water. But like with it, I like the idea like the fountain of youth, but like there's a problem with it.
Yeah.
But like the stuff with like his face came off at the end. Like, so we meet the doctor up top, and like he's obviously creepy. We're like suspicious of this like place that's like curing your ambition. Like people are too ambitious. Like they live to there's a lot of commentary on the fact that we push ourselves. Yeah,
that the modern world is pushing you, and it's a disease. Ambition is a disease. To want to do something and keep doing it as much as you can is a disease. That the rat race is a disease, which ends up being a pretense to just get wealthy people to volunteer to come to this place. All of that is just, as we learn in the third act, is to get them to volunteer to come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To make them want to be there.
Yes.
So once they're in, like, so the doctor set this all up, and it's his way of like harvesting vitamins from people.
Yeah, human essence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess what threw me.
You still haven't asked me a question, by the way.
Oh, have I?
No.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm getting to it.
Yeah.
But like what threw me is like, why did his face melt off
Because he was burned alive.
in the fire?
Yeah.
And then he put prosthetic on.
Well, we saw in his underground lab that he was growing skin and like putting faces on.
Okay.
And we also see in that picture that there's a man with bandages on. So maybe before he was growing skin, he just had a bandaged face, because we saw he was holding his daughter's hand there. And there's that scene early on where he gets pushed and he like dabs his forehead, and there's like black stuff on the tissue because his face is falling off at the edges.
Okay, I see that. I now at least I understand why he had the burned face underneath.
Yeah.
In the while I was watching.
Yeah.
It just it felt like it went from psychological to just monster horror and twist. Like the way that it was done, it felt like the Red Skull.
Oh, I thought it was really good payoff. That the entire movie they'd been showing this guy with bandages on his head, the fact that he did that and black stuff came out, and the faces on growing faces. You're like, why is he growing faces? I thought it was a really good payoff for all of that.
Yeah, when I saw the jars, I assumed that those were dissections as opposed to growing.
Oh, they all looked like his face though.
Did they?
Yeah. They all looked the same, and it was all of his face.
Interesting. I didn't notice that.
One of my favorite
but by that point,
yeah,
I was already checked out.
Oh,
emotionally, I wasn't necessarily, because the thing is I wasn't rooting for Lockhart by that point. I was sort of, for me, it just I just wasn't connected to him enough that I think the movie would have been a lot stronger if it had been a half hour shorter.
I was more connected to the mystery than I was to Lockhart, for sure. And so I think Lockhart, like all of these kind of mystery horror movies, is more of a tool for the audience. I don't think that, I think he was an interesting character, and I think that in the end, that's what made it really satisfying for me, is I was thinking oh, he's just a tool for the audience. At the end, we see him have his closure with his father, and that he walks away. He's cured from that disease of the rat race and all that kind of stuff. And as we know, because in the beginning, one of the board members is drinking from a blue vial, that those 4 board members are also a part of whatever this conspiracy is with living forever. Because in the first scene, one of them is drinking from one of the vitamin water vials. And I think so. It's in general him walking away from everything when he gets on that bike.
There's cool little things in there that are making you second guess everything.
Yeah.
There was a moment when he goes to the bar, or no, when he's meeting with the constable.
Sure.
And the whiskey bottle is Lockhart whiskey.
Yeah.
And I noticed that. I was and then I was waiting for them to be no, your name's not Lockhart.
Yeah.
You're Pembroke. You're Pembroke.
Yeah.
You've been Pembroke this whole time. I was waiting for that beat just off the whiskey bottle.
I'm really glad that the movie never did it was all a dream this entire time,
Yeah.
or a dream fake out. It always, there was one scene where he had a dream, and that was after the, this is the only thing, is he in cahoots with the deer? How did he get that deer to do that?
Yeah.
That's the only thread that really bothers me, is the head doctor, the head doctor's office is full of dead deer skulls, and he's got a deer on his desk, and I was like, how does he know this deer will do the thing he needs it to do?
Yeah.
Which is land on the roof of the car and then awkwardly walk away and die.
Maybe he had backup plans. Maybe he was going to pay the gang in town to attack him, and
Yeah.
break his knees.
Or like the constable to do something. I don't think his leg was ever broken.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
I'm just, but like some way to get him up there. Like if they attack him and then he's unconscious, and they're like, and then it's like they broke your leg while you were unconscious.
But again, horror movie Dear Ex Machina.
Yeah, Dear Ex Machina. We gotta keep track now of Dear Ex Machina because this is the second time we've discussed it.
Yeah, it's a thing in movies.
Hashtag. Let's make this hashtag Dear Ex Machina. Wonderful. But yeah, like I am glad that they didn't do It's All a Dream.
Yeah.
Because that was my first fear when I first saw the trailer. Was like, are we just doing Shutter Island?
Yeah.
And we didn't go there, and I'm glad we didn't.
Same.
But I felt like they played with that idea.
I think they played with the idea of insanity.
For me, it was too much. And that's why I say I think a half hour shorter. Like the game of it, like not ending and continuing. While I get that creatively, it took so long to like get to a point where that was what was happening. It just for me felt like it was. That's when it started to feel tacked on because I thought the movie was too long.
It felt really Hitchcock for me, where like Hitchcock was very patient and very like his movies took so long to get to where they were going. Like Psycho doesn't really start until 2/3 of the way into the movie.
Yeah.
And I felt like this really was kind of in that type of like form. And I think I really liked the fact that they were patient with it. Hannah doesn't get introduced until halfway through, and you're not sure if she's like, you know, what her role is and everything. And I think the eels, I think they got introduced in a really good pace where it wasn't immediately eels off the bat, not eels everywhere. Like I think the pace of the eel reveal was very interesting.
Yeah, I thought that the eels worked as a great like motif and like a thing to like be afraid of because it was scary every time that they came in.
Yeah.
Like the eels worked. I think it was just my two biggest problems with it were the immortality thing from the doctor, or not the immortality thing. I think it was just like the doctor and Hannah's relationship threw me for a loop because that's where it started to feel like there was too much going on, and I'm piecing this together as we go, which is why I'm jumping a little bit. But
and I also just came from the movie, so like
I saw it this morning.
Yeah. Oh, so never mind.
Yeah. But the whole like I want to have a child with my sister, and then I want to have a child with my daughter. I didn't know why we needed that. The whole like the rape scene that was happening was disturbing, but not in like a horror movie disturbing. It was just like it felt like it was unnecessary. Like the town vilifying him for his mad science ways to me is way more interesting than the town vilifying him for a wrong relationship.
But for Lockhart, the entire movie is about a loss of innocence, and the fact that Hannah was kind of always stuck being a child until Lockhart came in and like brought her to the town. She drank beer, and that kind of brought on her womanhood. That was what that story was. It was mirroring how Lockhart lost his innocence as a child when his dad killed himself. And so I thought that was a really good like matching motif, where like Hannah represented Lockhart when he was a child. She'd gone through some emotional trauma just like he did. She was in danger, and instead of, you know, being brought into the modern world, she was kept in this tower basically, and like kept alive for hundreds of years.
Yeah, but like was she just not able to piece that together because she was just a child?
I think she was. All she's known is this sanitarium. Like, she never left. She'd never really talked to anyone other than these old people who were there kind of being killed slowly. Like, she never really met with anyone or talked to anyone. Lockhart's the first young person she's ever talked to. She says it. She's like, I like him because he's young. And for all she knows, her experience is the correct one.
That's fair. All right, so we're running out of time.
Well, on eels, we should get Haley's opinion.
Yeah, I want to. So because we're running out of time, I want to make sure that we get Haley's opinion, because she did send it. She did send like a short video on what she thought of A Cure for Wellness.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at let's toss it over to Haley.
Eels up inside ya, finding an entrance where they can. Eels up inside ya, finding an entrance where they can. Boring through your mind, through your tummy, through your anus. Eels. 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 Give it up now. Eels. Eels. Give it up now. Eels. Eels. Give it up now. I was obsolete. I could never be staggering about on me old man's feet. I had one foot in the grave. But down the rave. But down the rave. It's a mashup. Give it up now. Mashup. Give it up now. Elements of the past. Give it up now. And elements of the future.
See, elements of the past, elements of the future. It's all in there.
It's everything.
This is the original version of A Cure for Wellness.
They literally have a scene in this where there's a ballerina dancing with an eel. Like, it's all there.
This is A Cure for Wellness from years ago.
I love the Mighty Boosh.
And off of that, I think we're gonna start to wrap up. For me, just like my last of my thoughts, it didn't all come together. And like talking to you is like, it's a little, I see a little more of like what's in there. But just, that's why I say like, I think there was an earlier draft of this that was shorter, probably a little bit simpler. It just felt like there was like, stuff got stretched out. Again, for me, the rape sequence at the end, like that was when I completely just like, was just like, I didn't need it. And not that it like couldn't like be a plot point. It just like it felt unnecessary. A lot of this just felt there's a cool science going on with the idea of a cure
Tincture.
All the science stuff was cool.
Yeah,
it's just like I never connected to the characters, and for me, I needed that in to care about everything else.
And what's your final score out of 10? Out of 10 eel baths.
I would only give this maybe 4 out of 10 eel baths.
Okay. I'm on the opposite side of the spectrum. I think this movie is fantastic. I think it really pays off. I think it feels so cool to take this adventure with this character and try and like solve the mystery. I think every beat pays each beat its due and like helps build a really interesting world. I give it 9 out of 10. It was almost perfect for me, except for the Deer Ex Machina. How did he do that? How did he know the deer would do that?
The man can live 200 years. He can summon a deer.
Do you think he can train a deer to hit a car?
All right, and with that, we're going to wrap out of Sci-Fi Weekly. Thanks so much for joining us. Be sure to let us know in the comments what you guys thought of Sci-Fi Weekly. Help decide, because we didn't have a third person this week.
Yeah.
What did you think of A Cure for Wellness? Let us know in the comments below. Until next time, next week when we'll be talking about it's before the show.
Yeah.
But so we're gonna talk about the greatest and worst product placement in science fiction history.
Nice.
It's gonna be a fun show next week. Really silly before the week after when we get to talk about Logan. So stay tuned for that. Haley will be back with us next week. So until then, I've been Zach Wilson. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at @ThatZachWilson.
I'm Jesse Klein. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at JessKlein1. That's JSSKLEIN, the number 1. Also, you can catch us at the Shield After Show on our sister network, AfterBuzz TV.
All right, guys. So until next week, this has been Sci-Fi Weekly, the show where we're only one lab coat away from being real scientists.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.